Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking into a really fascinating set of rules, surprisingly detailed actually, from an ancient source, Nissaggiya 24. Now this isn't just, any text. It's part of the monastic disciplinary code, the Vinaya, and it outlines rules where, well, if you break them, you actually have to forfeit the item involved.
That's right. The Nissaggiya part means requiring forfeiture.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack how this seemingly simple permission for some practical clothing, a rain cloak, somehow spiraled into this really complex body of quite strict regulations.
Yep.
We want to look at not just what the rules were, but really why they became so important. What does it tell us about, community living, discipline, even how they thought about public image back then?
Indeed. And what's really fascinating, I think, is how these almost mundane details about clothing end up illustrating these really core principles of monastic life.
Right.
And crucially, the public's perception of them. It's quite a vivid window, really.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. We're in Savatthi, right? At Anthapitika's monastery, Jetavana Grove, a pretty common backdrop for these stories.
Very common, yes. A major center.
And at some point, the Buddha allowed the monks, the bhikkhus, to use something called a vassikasāṭikā.
The rain cloak.
The rain cloak. Sounds perfectly reasonable, doesn't it? I mean, it rains, you need a cloak.
Absolutely. It was clearly a practical necessity, basic comfort, protection from the weather.
Sure.
But, as we often see in these texts, even simple, sensible allowances can, lead to unexpected problems once human behavior gets involved.
Human behavior, always the complicating factor.
Isn't it just? This was ultimately about maintaining a certain dignity, a decorum, really, in all situations, even, in a heavy downpour.
Okay, here's where it gets interesting then. We meet this group, and they pop up quite a bit, causing issues, don't they? The Chabbaggiyā bhikkhus.
Yes, the group of 6. They often seem to be the ones testing the boundaries.
So what were they doing with these rain cloaks? The text says they were getting them XXIV too early.
Way too early. And not just getting them too early, but wearing them too early as well.
Okay. And then the kicker is when their old cloaks wore out, they just exposed their bodies naked to the rain. Is that right?
That's what the text says.
Yeah.
Imagine the scene. Monks, running around naked in the rain.
It sounds almost funny, but I guess for a monastic community that relies on public goodwill.
Oh, it would have been disastrous. A PR nightmare, as you'd say today. It's a serious breach of decorum.
Yeah.
It's a lack of foresight maybe, or maybe an unseemly eagerness to get new things. And importantly, it just reflected badly on everyone, the whole Sangha.
So the other monks weren't happy.
Not at all. The text mentions the virtuous monks, the ones described as apicca, having few desires.
Yeah.
They were very displeased.
Understandably.
And they reported it straight to the Buddha.
That immediate reporting, it tells you something, doesn't it? About the internal standards, the accountability.
It really does. It wasn't just letting things slide. It suggests a strong culture of self-policing, maybe. A shared understanding of what was acceptable.
Right. A commitment to upholding those standards as a group. So this was a visible problem, potentially damaging their reputation. The Buddha had to step in.
He did.
Yeah.
And he wasn't gentle about it.
No.
No, the text says he confirmed the reports, and then he criticized them, reproved them quite sharply, called them mogapurisa.
Which means?
Foolish men. Empty men, essentially.
Ouch.
Yeah, and he connected it directly to faith, or pasada. He pointed out that this kind of behavior wouldn't inspire faith in people who didn't have it yet, and it wouldn't increase the faith of those who already did.
So it's explicitly linked to the lay community's view.
Absolutely key.
Yeah.
Monastic conduct wasn't just an internal affair. It had real, tangible, external consequences. Public perception, lay support, donations, all potentially affected.
Right. The actions of a few could really damage the whole order's credibility, maybe even its survival.
Precisely. So this whole situation basically demanded a new, very clear rule, a sikkhapada.
Okay, so let's unpack that rule. It sounds like it got very specific, very fast.
Extremely specific. It's all about the timing.
Timing.
Yes, the Buddha laid it down. A bhikkhu should only acquire a rain cloak when there's 1 month of summer left. Masosiso gimhanen.
1 month before the rains, basically.
Right. And they should only start wearing it when there's half a month of summer left. Adamasoseso gimhanen.
Wow. That is precise. Why so specific, do you think?
Well, it's not arbitrary, is it? It forces some mindful planning. It stops monks from getting them too early, which might look like greed or hoarding.
Or just being impatient, like the Chabbaggiyas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it also prevents the opposite problem, inadequate preparation, which led to the nakedness issue.
Right, get it too late, your old one wears out. And...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if a monk got the cloak or wore the cloak earlier than these times, that's when they incurred the Nissaggiya pācittiya.
The forfeiture offense. They lose the cloak.
They lose the cloak. It's a tangible consequence, not just, a telling off.
Okay, so the stakes are pretty high. And it gets even more detailed, doesn't it? Even about how you ask for one.
Oh, yes. The etiquette of asking is laid out, too. You can't just go up to your supporters and demand a rain cloak.
No. What did they say?
The text gives this very subtle phrasing. When approaching people who've donated before, they should say something like, "It is time for the rain cloak. It is the season for the rain cloak. Other people also give rain cloaks."
Very indirect. A gentle hint, almost.
Exactly. It's a reminder, not a demand. And the rule specifically forbids saying things like, "Give me a rain cloak," or "Buy me one," or "Go get one for me."
Fascinating. What does that tell us about that relationship between the monks and the lay followers?
It suggests a really delicate balance, doesn't it? It emphasizes not imposing, not taking generosity for granted, maintaining humility, avoiding any sense of entitlement. That seems crucial for keeping that lay support flowing.
It's a reminder that even in these ancient communities, you're still dealing with basic human dynamics, trust, and perception.
Absolutely. You might wonder, why all these rules for just a cloak? But it speaks volumes about managing a community, maintaining standards, protecting an image, maybe not so different from, say, a modern nonprofit needing to maintain donor trust.
That's a really good parallel. It feels incredibly strict, though, all these layers. Defining the exact time, how to ask. Was there maybe a concern that it becomes too rule-bound, that it stifles common sense?
That's a fair question. It is strict.
Yeah.
But the text also shows, I think, a kind of nuanced understanding of intent and perception.
How so?
Well, it breaks down different scenarios for the forfeiture offense.
Yeah.
You commit the offense if you get it too early or wear it too early, even if you sort of know it's too early. It uses phrases like perceives it as excess or is doubtful about the time.
So even your internal state of mind matters if your actions break the time rule.
It seems so. If you suspect it's too early but do it anyway, that's an offense. But interestingly, there's also a lesser offense, a dukkaya, a wrongdoing, for just exposing your body naked to the rain, even if you actually have a suitable rain cloak.
So even if you followed the acquisition rules, you still have a responsibility to actually use the cloak appropriately and not, well, run around naked.
Exactly. It emphasizes that ongoing responsibility for decorum. Use what you have, maintain the standard.
Okay, so it's strict but nuanced. Is there no offense then? Are there ways to get it right or situations where it's excused?
Yes, definitely. There's no offense, obviously, if you follow the rule exactly, acquire it when 1 month is left, wear it when half a month is left.
Right.
And importantly, there seems to be allowance for genuine mistakes in judgment about the timing. If you honestly perceive the time as being within the limits, even if you're slightly off, as long as the intention wasn't to deliberately ignore the rule.
Okay, so it balances the firmness of the rule with a bit of pragmatism about, human error.
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
It allows for miscalculation, perhaps, but not for willful disregard.
That makes sense. What about external factors? Like, what if the weather patterns change? Say, monk gets his cloak at the right time, but then the monsoon is delayed.
Good question. The rule actually covers that. It shows some practical flexibility.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If the rains are postponed after you've got or worn the cloak, you should wash it, store it properly, and then wear it again at the correct, now delayed time.
Sensible.
And maybe the most revealing part is the list of exemptions. There are situations where the rule just doesn't apply.
Exemptions, like what?
Things like if your robe is stolen or lost.
Yeah.
Makes sense, you need a covering. Also in emergencies, apadasu.
Emergencies.
Or for someone who is considered matakasa. And interestingly, for the adhikamikasa,
Who's that?
the first offender, the original monk or group of monks, presumably, whose actions actually led to the rule being created in the first place.
Wow. The first offender gets a pass. And someone suffering from mental illness or in an emergency, that's quite compassionate, isn't it? Mixed in with all the strictness.
It is. It shows it's not just about rigid adherence. It's balancing that discipline with, compassion and a recognition of genuine hardship or human fallibility.
It's a really complex picture that emerges.
It is a testament, perhaps, to the practical wisdom trying to navigate ideals in reality.
So we started with just, can monks have rain cloaks?
Yes.
And we ended up deep in these detailed regulations about timing, asking etiquette, mental states, exemptions. It's quite a journey from a simple need to this really fine-tuned system of discipline.
Absolutely. And if you sort of step back and look at the bigger picture, these ancient rules, even though they seem laser-focused on one piece of clothing, they offer these really profound insights, I think.
Into what?
Into the fundamental challenges of any community living together, managing resources, maintaining standards, upholding an ideal, especially when faced with, well, human nature. They show how seemingly small actions, like getting a cloak too early, can actually have pretty big consequences for the reputation, the integrity, maybe even the viability of the whole group.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does, and it raises a question maybe for our own lives today. Think about our own contexts. Personal habits, professional rules, community standards, even unwritten rules. How many of those have sort of evolved from simple needs or permissions? Often maybe in reaction to someone doing something unexpected or pushing a boundary, all in an effort to maintain some kind of image or uphold a shared ideal. It makes you wonder what seemingly minor things happening today, what little breaches of etiquette or protocol might end up leading to complex new rules or regulations down the line.